of course, we know that it has been said by officials at the Vatican that the Pope does try to start off these types of conversations with areas of agreement. And certainly the pair had tried to diffuse that little spat last year when the Vatican said that the Pope's comments toward Trump weren't a personal attack, and Trump actually tweeted that he didn't like fighting with the Pope. So I think there's a little bit of humor in there that they could possibly find, but I imagine that they will talk about some of the global issues, not necessarily about religion. But as we can see this ceremony happening right now, Francis, what is kind of the procedure given Trump's arrival? Is there an established way of doing this?
It is an established way of doing it. From the Vatican point of view, it's established because they, of course, want to preserve the importance of the Pope as a head of state, as well as the head of the Catholic Church. So they have their way of doing things. Things don't change. The Pope has got, for example, a weekly audience with the public, which is going to be just behind me in front of St. Peter's Basilica in about an hour and 20 minutes' time. Now, that doesn't change, and that wasn't changed for anybody. He's made that quite clear. That will go ahead at the usual time on a Wednesday here in Rome, hence the earlier meeting with Donald Trump. But when they go to the Apostolic Palace, as of course, which is where he's arrived, they came through the Perugia gate. A motorcade came past us about 10 minutes ago. The pictures you see are of them with just a couple of cameras there, and it is somewhat ceremonial. There will be an exchange of gifts. Often there's a fair bit of attention paid to what gifts are given to the Pope. For example, Barack Obama, when he came, his meeting was about 50 minutes long, his first meeting with the Pope, and he brought some seeds from the White House garden that were then planted in the Vatican garden. By contrast, the Samoan Prime Minister a few years ago came with some traditional fish hooks, which he gave to the Pope should he ever want to go fishing the traditional Samoan way, which was greeted with a lot of smiles. But what you can say about this Pope is that he is something of a charmer. He is a communicator, and I don't think he'll have any difficulties in communicating with President Trump. And likewise, President Trump himself is someone who has an ability to say one thing very loudly, perhaps before he became president, to say things loudly on Twitter, to take a very firm stance on a number of issues, and yet has sat down quite happily in places like Riyadh this week and Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and listened and made his own speeches and made up his own mind. And that seems to be a pattern that is certainly prevailing through his presidency, given his previous attitude to Barack Obama, his predecessor, and then, of course, when they met in the White House when he won the election. The same could be said for his attitude to Hillary Clinton. So it will be something of a meeting of minds, and I don't expect it to be feisty, but they will certainly both make their point on the issues that concern them.
Absolutely, Francis. And right now we are looking at pictures of U.S. President Donald Trump heading into the Vatican to meet with Pope Francis. He's accompanied by First Lady Melania Trump, who is wearing a head covering out of respect, and along with his daughter, Ivanka Trump, is also accompanied on this trip. He's just gone in and looks like we're looking at pictures of him walking in right now. You know, this has been a really busy trip for him abroad. Of course, now we have, let's watch this interaction. Let's see Trump greeting Pope Francis. There they are. So we're going to just keep listening in, Francis, to see if the pair have anything to say before they go into their meeting, because very little is known about this agenda. But, you know, we know that earlier on this first visit abroad, he was meeting with Muslim leaders in Saudi Arabia and visiting sacred sites, of course, in Jerusalem. So it's unique to see how this visit is going to be a bit different. And again, we can't really hear what they're saying, but they have sat down, and of course, photographers are capturing the moment of the U.S. president meeting with Pope Francis for the first time.